everyone, and welcome to Cosmic Conversations. This podcast is dedicated to spiritual growth and cosmic exploration. I'm your host, Sheila Seppi, and you are watching us on the Conscious Awakening Network. Now, if you haven't already signed up to be on our mailing list, please go to consciousawakeningnetwork.org and sign up. Or you can catch the replays on YouTube or on our Conscious Awakening Network channel. But either way, please sign up. Now, if you like to download podcasts, you can also check us out on Spotify, Google, Android, all of those places, or Roku, Amazon, Apple TV, Android. But you have to download the app first, but it is free. So let's go ahead and move on. I got my little commercial out of the way. And tonight, our guest is our beloved Miss Bridget Renee Holliday. Now, Bridget is a starseed channel, a multidimensional medium, a galactic unity ambassador, and she holds frequencies of unity consciousness and anchors them into the human experience. Her star lineages are Palladian, Sirian, Arcturian, Lyran, Andromedan, Aurora, Blue Avian, among others. Bridget is an Ascension contact specialist of the Galactic Councils of Light. Her missions include normalizing the conversations and perceptions around the interdimensional, extradimensional, ultradimensional, and extraterrestrial beings. Working internationally, she is a starseed and Ascension mentor. Now, Bridget utilizes quantum hypnotherapy to help people access their lives beyond Earth and anchor those wisdoms and frequencies into this world. She assists people to embrace deep relationships with their galactic, cosmic, and ethereal connections for direct and clear guidance. She also helps many people to remember their specialization, and she reminds us that we have trained lifetimes for what we're here on Earth to do right now. Bridget is the founder of Ascension Catalyst, a unity consciousness community whose focus is to connect their star families on Earth. She shares experiences, supports and uplifts one another, and expands consciousness. So you can check that out at the Ascension Catalyst.com, and you can also join their community. So tonight, Bridget's going to be speaking to us about embracing diversity through galactic expression. And I'm going to go ahead and bring Bridget up right now. I am so excited to have you with us, Bridget, and welcome, welcome, welcome to Cosmic Conversations.
Hello, I'm so excited to be here. I have a presentation tonight. Hello, Vanita. I see you. So happy you're here with Sherry and Rod. And I'm just really excited to really connect us. So Sheila's going to take a second. I'm going to turn my camera off for just 1 second.
Not a
I'm going to come
problem.
over to presentation mode.
That's the beautiful photo that we're used to seeing. So it's actually wonderful that everybody gets to see that gorgeous face and smile.
Is there something special oh wait, I can share content. I see it. Here we go. Okay, starting broadcast. Hopefully you guys will be able to. Okay, can you see it?
Absolutely.
Beautiful. So tonight we are talking about embracing diversity through our galactic expressions. And I have spent quite a bit of time creating galactic art because I travel so much. So I do a lot of consciousness traveling. If you're new to me, Sheila gave me a beautiful read of my short bio. But I've been traveling via consciousness since I was a teenager, and I've been channeling for much longer than that. I like to say the angels raised me when I was really tiny, and then I began communicating with all sorts of beings. And as an adult, I had 2 contact experiences back to back over 3 hours with 2 totally different beings, and that was my starseed awakening. It opened up so much more information and such a bigger picture of our multidimensionality and what we're here on Earth doing now. Oops, I'm hearing myself repeat. Okay, so this first slide is all about our soul's progression in expression. And we can think of where we are now, the way we view time, we view past, present, and future. We can think of it as a straight line, right? We have this straight line of what is past, what is now is the present. That's where everything is created. And then we have a future. But a lot of the rest of our expressions, our source expressions, our soul expressions, experience cosmic time, which is similar to a giant spiral, as you see from my little graphic there. But if you look at the sacred geometry in the center of this, and you think of the dimensions, there are more than 12, but if you think of the numbers on the clock face as the dimensions, everything is connected. Everything in existence is connected. And we are connected to all of those expressions, all of those planets, all of the non-beings, all of this universal expression, but then also all of the other universal expressions. So the way I like to describe it is that we experience ourselves in dimensions. Now, I know my team talks in densities, but it can be a little it can be a little odd to because the numbers don't line up for some reason on Earth. The density number and the dimension numbers are not the same. So what I like to do is sort of think of density in the way of how we express within the dimensions. And so if you look at this, you'll see that third, fourth, fifth, we have less light. That doesn't mean we have technically less light. We always are filled with light. But we experience ourselves in more individuation, and we experience ourselves as more dense, right? So we have that physicality. But if you look at the middle dimensions, at fifth dimension and above, one of the basic building blocks of the fifth dimension is unconditional love. The other is unity consciousness. So from fifth up, we experience ourselves in unity consciousness, and we have sort of a neutral density in fifth, sixth, and sometimes seventh dimension, where we experience ourselves as much lighter, right? Now we think of light as in brilliance, bright light, literally light. But in this way, I'm using light as both, right? So it's both the light that is within our soul is being expressed in whatever form that is in a way that holds more density, neutral density, or as you see in the top, less density, more light, right? But it can also be that our physicality, if in physicality, with which we experience third through even eighth, we can have density in eighth. So we can have physicality in eighth. Some say ninth. I experience the ninth dimension a bit different, but really, this is something that we're experiencing ourselves in all of these. So there is an expression that our soul is living and has lived and has experienced in all of the different dimensions. And we like to talk about those as simultaneous lives, right? So that's your Pleiadian simultaneous life. That's your Andromedan, your Arcturian, your Auroran, whatever it is, your Orion life. And the way I experience my soul's expressions is that I am living way more than 25. I know there are some people on Earth that say you only have 25 lives at a time. I don't experience that at all. I actually experience it within myself, but also within a lot of my clients, that we are all over the place within this universe and beyond. So that's what this is about. You can also think of like the 10th, 11th, and 12th, and the dimensions that are higher than that as ethereal. You can think of like 7th, 8th, and 9th as cosmic dimensions, and then 6 is sort of that in between. But definitely you can think of 6th, 5th, and 4th, even 3rd, which is where we experience ourselves a lot, 3rd, 4th, 5th. You can see those as galactic. So I think most of the people that are here with Sheila understand that we are a galactic race as well, but I love to add that in. We also, as we are experiencing our simultaneous lives within our own soul's expression, we also, as humans, hold all the dimensions within us. So there are aspects of you, your higher persona, which exist in sixth, seventh, eighth, and ninth dimensions. So not just your parallel versions of you that exist on parallel Earths, and not just the simultaneous lives and expressions that you are experiencing yourself as all throughout this universe and beyond, but also within your own soul, within your own expression as Sheila, as Sherry, as Benita, as Susie, as Rod, as Cindy. You're all experiencing within this focal point that is your human expression on Earth right now. You experience yourself oscillating between third, fourth, and fifth for most people. A lot of us oscillate in the higher aspects of the dimensions as well. But we will often, as we begin to raise our consciousness and expand our awareness and really awaken all of those slumbering aspects of consciousness, we'll start to experience ourselves as, say, I'm walking, through my house, and all of a sudden I become aware that there is another aspect of me having a meeting with my counsel, right? Lots of us are experiencing that right now, where you feel like you're sitting at a table having a conversation with a bunch of different beings. They could be the same kind of being, they could be all different types of beings. We have so many councils of light that we are all connected with. We are in them, we are a part of them. It's all in unity. And we are simultaneous to focusing in on this life, this expression, this, very much going throughout my day, doing the things that I do every day. There are elements of our consciousness, of our persona, that exist in those higher dimensions and are doing whatever we do in those. As we begin to expand, my soul team collective, which is what I call those beautiful beings who are here to guide and assist us on our journey, they've been saying as we begin to expand, we will become more and more aware of those higher dimensional versions of ourselves, not just our simultaneous lives. That's coming too. For a lot of us, I know we're experiencing our Pleiadian, all of the different galactic lives that we're living, but they're talking about the merge that's happening in consciousness, to where we will really begin to see ourselves in our own life and become aware of all of the variations that truly do exist. And that comes through lifting the illusions of separation and forgetting. That also comes through doing a lot of inner work and really releasing and setting down all of those things that we have adopted and created that no longer serve us, all of that collective programming, all of the archetypes that we've been playing in for so long, that we as a collective and as individuals have decided, okay, we're done with that. And now we're moving into a new way of being human. So the aspects of you that exist in the higher 10th, 11th, and 12th dimensions, they don't have the same persona as we experience with ourselves in the third through fifth, sixth, and seventh. But they're still a part of us, and we're still a part of them. They're still existing beyond physicality. So that is you, the element of you that exists beyond physical bodies. I just wanted to add that last part in. And this image is how I see our soul streams. It's the closest I can get. I've been kind of playing with them to try to get one that we can sort of have a good visual of. But I love the way I view Source as sort of like this giant sphere that is tightly interwoven with light, all kinds of what I like to call highways of light that are connecting everything in existence, much like that first sacred geometry piece that we showed, or that I showed just a moment ago. And from that, our soul is existing in what we like to call the Godhead, right? Which is not a lot of individuation, right? But then we come through this beautiful stream of soul that begins to sort of individuate out into many soul streams. And from that, your beautiful soul stream could be like this one that's swooping down in the center. That's your main soul core. And from that, each of those little filaments of light that are coming off are going to different lives and expressions. Now, if you can imagine this happening so many times, all different dimensions, to beings that we would consider an actual being, but also to expressions that we would consider a non-being. And so let's go to the next slide. This is about soul streams too. This is just another way to visualize all of the soul streams coming off. But, as I said before, we exist in all the dimensions. Our soul is not only just expressing within all of the dimensions within ourselves, we are expressing within all the dimensions within ourselves, but we're having so many of those simultaneous lives that share a soul stream. And I actually had an experience when I was sort of asking about my soul, and I was asking about how my soul was created, and I was connecting to one of my Pleiadian simultaneous lives. Her name is Nahara. And I was connecting to Nahara, and she and about seven of it might have been more, but I remember seven of them, of the other simultaneous lives and expressions, showed me a mind video in that place that we have our memories and imagine a story when someone's telling it to us. They basically presented me with a mind video of all of them getting sort of the message of it's time to express in a different way. And they all combined an element of their soul together to create me and to create mine. Now, the creator of my soul, the overall soul, is what we would call an architect of creation. But for the expression that I'm having here on earth, I am a mixture of the main soul stream that is streaming through all of them into me, creating the life that I'm living here. And that can be a little timey-wimey if we're thinking about like how is that possible, right? But it was so beautiful and full of so much love. So when I say we hold frequency for beings, that's what I mean a lot of the time. There is a creator of our overall soul, but the way I perceive it is those streams of soul are now blending together, creating the picture that is, well, I'll speak for myself, that is me. So it's quite a beautiful thing. And when we reach a particular degree of consciousness expansion, we can start to openly communicate with our simultaneous lives and expressions, like I just described, talking to Nahara. But also I have Lyran counterparts, I have Syrian, all the pretty much all the things you can imagine. I'm finding my soul likes to express as a lot of different beings, right? But there's this beautiful natural ability to connect. And that was first actually showed to me by my Lyran counterpart, who in my very first Beyond Quantum Healing Hypnosis session that I received showed me what it's like to communicate on the regular at will with the other lives and expressions that you share soul stream with. And it's consciousness communication. It's what we call telepathy and empathic ability. And as we know, energy knows no bounds, right? So it makes it easier. When we talk about the past, present, and future lives, I see it I understand that on earth, and I get that we live in that, right? We live in that understanding, but I also see it as more. And a lot of us are connecting with, our simultaneous lives, and we'll call ourselves starseeds. A lot of walk-ins know, you guys know who your collectives are, right? And where you come from. Hybrids, same deal, right? So we don't really have the past, present, and future in a lot of our galactic, it's all in the now in our galactic lives. We understand what our history, herstory, their story was, right? We understand it, we see it, but we also see from a perspective where it's all happening in the now, depending on where we place our focal point of consciousness. And don't you guys just love the Lyran-esque beings that were just created? I love those. They make me so happy. but we are all of them, right? So we're all the different races and species. And we also can remember and tap in to our simultaneous lives as if they are ours. That has been shown to me many, many times. We can step into the consciousness of them. We can review the history, the future, depending on on what dimensional expression we're in. And all of them, we've played as so many different types of beings. We've played um, as the beings and expressed as, and are currently expressing as beings who understand ourselves as light. We also express in the shadow constructs. We also express in, the control constructs with other beings and other planets. And it is all source expressing itself. But one thing I love to really point out is that even those beings that we would consider, not someone that we want to hang out with in this life based on the stories that are being told by other humans and other beings, even. There's a lot of channeled information about that. Even those beings within those groups, it's really important for us to remember that not every single being within even a particular race is going to play in the control constructs, is going to have the shadow consciousness, as I like to call it. So a lot of people are talking about the Anunnaki right now. And when I connect with the Anunnaki, I connect with a really fine, super high vibratory ethereal version of them who does not hold the frequencies of all of the stories that come from Sitchin and Zachariah Sitchin and all of those other people. So I think it's important for us to really tap into our hearts and feel. My soul team has been saying it is so important for humans to get used to seeing other beings that do not look like us, that might look in a way that we would consider creepy. But rather than to form an opinion about them based on the way they look or the stories that we've heard about them, to actually go within our hearts and sense who this being is. What do they feel like? Because what they feel like is who they are. And there is absolutely no way for us to not receive that information unless we're choosing not to. We are born to receive. We are born to sense. We have that within our genetic code. Even our soul senses are a natural part of us. That's what I call the psychic abilities and the clairs and telepathy and empathic ability. I call them soul senses because it is an innate part of all of us. We all have access to all of this information and the information of our soul. We all have intuition. We all have that ability to discern. And if you are working on discernment, just a little tip from me to you, ask that it comes in joyful, playful, exciting, happy ways. Because if you start asking for discernment, you will meet a lot of beings, probably you will meet a lot of beings that are teaching you what your discernment is like, and they don't always feel great, to us at least, right? So just a word to the wise, put a little caveat on there, let this be a fun experience that is joyful for me. So I'm just going to move through that and just bring us back to, we are a soul family tree. All of the different lives and expressions, we're all connected by source as source. And we have all of the aspects of consciousness existing in all the different dimensions. Maybe not simultaneously like we think of it, but they are there. We have access to that soul wisdom, that soul knowingness, that high knowingness. And I'm going to invite you all, just like I've done in a previous version of this, I'm going to invite you to really drop into your hearts now. Drop into your hearts and really start to embrace the differences that you're going to start to see in all of these different creations, all of these different beings that you'll see images of. Drop into your hearts and start to look at the things that you feel uncomfortable with. Look at the things that you find odd and find the beauty in that. Look at it until you see the beauty in that and you can feel the connection to that particular being. I spent a lot of time designing beings with AI, an AI art generator that are similar to what I've seen in my travels. And unfortunately, I'm still working on the non-humanoids with the AI art generator. But you'll see a lot of different beings on here. There's such a beautiful diversity, and there is diversity in unity. And that is the reminder that I'm giving you. Let's set down the illusion of separation and let's step into unity in this moment, looking at the different types of beings and how they are connected. These two in the center, I've actually seen beings that look very similar to them in the Syrian areas, the Syrian systems. So there are so many different, beautiful, amazing beings that are in our great big galaxy, and our connection to them is so important. And I want to just speak for a moment about that inner work. If we truly desire to be a part of our galactic family, it is so important for us to release those giant archetypes that we've been playing in for so long. The archetype of war, for example, is an easy one. And one way to do that is to really look within ourselves and see, where are we arguing? Where are we fighting? Where are we fighting ourselves? Where are we fighting one another? And what does that stem from? What within our consciousness feels threatened or feels, victimized, or all of these different things that we feel when we fight, and why? And the answer is always, within all of whatever comes up, there's always going to be either a lack of feeling worthy, a lack of feeling sovereign, or a lack of feeling lovable, and then whatever else is on top of that. So just as we're looking at all of these beings, start to really drop into your heart and think, where am I holding the archetypes that perpetuate separation within myself and within how I view my connection and feel my connection with others who are on earth right now? Because those are the places, when we start with those, and when we pull out those threads or cords or columns that are connecting us to those archetypes, when we bring it all back into the wholeness, is really what we're doing. And we bring it back in and say, okay, this place that I'm feeling threatened, that someone else can threaten my safety or my freedom or whatever it is, when we bring that back into the wholeness that we always are, it begins to frequency match with the parts of us that are fully shining, so to speak, the parts of us that know that we're worthy, that know that we're lovable. And then everything starts to shift within us, and we can start to see other people and the differences that may be there, instead of them being glaring and something that triggers us. We start to see them as beautiful, and we start to work within our consciousness in a way that we feel the unity, the connection. When we focus on connection, we see more things to connect to, more beings within our co-inhabitants that we are connected to. We start to experience connection on deeper levels. And that's where all of the diversity is. We are an amazingly diverse planet. We have one race of humanity with lots of ethnicities, right? When we can see all of the ethnic cultures as unique and beautiful and inspiring and interesting, even if it's something we may not choose for ourselves, if we can see that someone else loves it and what it gives them, and what they're learning through it and what they're experiencing through it, then that broadens our ability to even further immerse ourselves and embody our unity. And our unity consciousness is going to be, it's going to be so front and center for quite a few years, my team is saying. But this is where we get to look at all of that. And I just want to say, I just want to take a moment. There are a lot of people over the years that have asked me, are there any beings that look like me? And usually the people that have said that have more melanin in their skin than I do, right? And I want to say yes. I want to scream it from the rooftops. Yes. There are so many diverse humanoid beings out there. And as you can see in this picture, I've included some of all different types, but our skin tones on Earth are a range, right? We have that in our galactic family as well. I've seen beings that are so black that they have an iridescence to them, all the way to like almost translucent skin, right? I've seen all kinds of different beings in that way. We see a lot of blue beings out in the world, but there's also, you know, purple and different colors. I've seen like pale green skin. I've seen all kinds of different variations and hues. I've seen no eyes, tiny eyes, like no noses, no ears, and no noses or very thin noses are very, very common. Aren't these guys so cute? They're so cute. I was aiming for Arcturian, but this is what I got. And I love them. I'm just going to move through some images now. There are also a lot, I want to bring in the hybrid. The hybrids, there's so many different programs. My team has been talking about the hybridization programs a lot lately. And the way they explain it is very interesting. There are some that have agendas and different things like that, right? And the agendas are, you know, run the gamut, right? There's so many different agendas out there. But from the main information that I'm receiving and that I'm tapping into the hybridization programs that I'm a part of is that we have so many, and oftentimes it's all about expression. It's about the frequencies of the expression that we are creating together. And this does, you know, there's a lot of people talking about DNA and how, you know, some of them don't have the highest intentions. And I know that that exists. I also know that there are lots of programs that we involve ourselves in so that we can have that beautiful soul stream experience as them. And even programs that may start with an intention that is not necessarily for humanity on Earth's highest and best good, because these programs happen amongst all of the different, maybe not all of them, many different galactic races and species. But even some of those have created the most beautiful beings, right? So we can even look at the grays, and there's so many different grays out there. My team says the gray body style is one of the most common in this universe, but we'll call them the Zetas, even though that's probably technically not their home world. It's the world that's the place they reside in now within this dimensional expression. But they've created, we have created the Yahyel, the Sasani. They're so beautiful, right? Anyone that has ever connected and communicated with a Yahyel being, you will feel so much joy, so much love, so much deep desire to support humanity. It's the same with the Sasani every time I connect with them as well. And I just want to say, you know, we spend a lot of time in the consciousness communities talking about the things that we don't like and the things that we want to sort of warn each other about. And I feel that with that, of course, that is beneficial to lots of people. But I also feel like it's super important to look at the elements of those programs that are uplifting and supporting, and to understand that at a particular degree of consciousness expansion within our dimensional expression, it is part of source expressing for us to create life and to create worlds. And each of us has that ninth and above consciousness that we play in, those dimensional expressions that we play in. And within ninth and above, we do that. We create life, we create worlds. Now, thinking about that simultaneously, as being an infinite creator being, the core essence of our soul streams is infinite creator being. That's who you are, that's who I am. We are all that. We're creating life, most people unconsciously, all the time. Anytime you have a huge emotional moment, whether it be one that we feel is quote, quote, positive or quote, quote, negative, we create beings. There are entire layers of the fourth dimension. I'm going to skip to the next slide. There are entire layers of the fourth dimension that are filled with beings that are emotion forms and thought forms that have self-realized that humanity on Earth has created. This is my version of what I see in the Pleiades. Just FYI for anyone that's looking at this, not looking at the screen. This is, I'm just going to kind of segue for a second. I see a huge variety of skin tones in the Pleiades, and different planets in the Pleiades have different, even sorts of beings within the Pleiades star nation. There are also beings within the Pleiades that are not interstellar and don't desire to be interstellar. There's a particular planet that I visit in the Pleiades that I like to go and speak with. He's like a wise man to me. I like to go and speak with him, and they have connection to people on Earth. We call them the Mayans. And they are super spiritual. They're so their spirituality, their consciousness is vast. And I'll go and hang out with him and talk to him, but they've chosen not to be interstellar because they like their focus being with their connection to one another and their connection to their planet. We see a lot of the interstellar beings. That's who a lot of people channel. But also the ethereal Pleiadians as well. But I like to show the diversity because I feel like it is so important for all of us to recognize that we have this beautiful, diverse galactic family. This is similar to the beings that I see in Orion. If you could make them a lot taller. Like, you can't really tell their height on this picture, but I see sauroid races there, reptilians, on particular worlds, but there are also what I would call the root races that are, honestly, Egypt very much favors Orion. And the beautiful skin tones there are sort of this golden hue, this very beautiful, like caramel, but even darker on many of the worlds there. And they're quite beautiful. They play in the perfection of form that the Pleiadians do, and the Syrians, and many other of our galactic families. So they definitely have this, gorgeous, like supermodel kind of thing going on, like a lot of our galactic family does. But the Orions are interesting because we favor them a lot. Like, if we were taller and bigger, we would be very much looking like them, the root races in Orion that I've seen. And there are just so many different types of beings out there. So I just want all of us to like really embrace the variety that exists within our soul. Our soul is connected to all of these types of beings. And there's so many beings that don't have a human form, a humanoid form at all. But I have seen humans that we look like them, they look like us, with slight differences all over the universe, in various places, with slight differences here and there, but we're all over the place. It's a very common body style. Our numbers probably don't, from my sense of it, our numbers are smaller than a lot of the other star nations and galactic races that we're communicating with now. But we're everywhere. And there's a lot of water worlds as well. And in the water world area, Sirius is one of them. I have gone to so many water planets in the Sirius systems over the years. And there's one in particular that I love to go to, and it is like the epitome of diversity. You guys have heard me, if you've ever heard me speak, you've probably heard me talk about the big, beautiful planet. It makes Jupiter look like a tiny little baby. It's enormous. And it is a social hub for beings all over the universe. And it feels like a giant party when you go in there, like a really clean, healthy party. And there's so many different types of beings that sometimes my consciousness can't even perceive them. I can only see like an energy outline of what they would look like. But the cool thing about that planet, there's two cool things, and they're very similar to what Earth has. It's a portal planet. Earth is a portal planet. We're going to start seeing a lot more portals as we start to, like, with our physical, not just our first eye, as I like to call it, but with our physical eyes as well. My team is talking about the portals becoming visible to the masses as our consciousness expands. So that's going to be an interesting experience here on Earth. But that Sirian planet is also a repository of knowledge and wisdom. And I've been told many times that Earth has that ability. It's sort of turned off right now. She's got herself turned off, Gaia, because there's a degree of responsibility required for that. So that's something to look forward to, because in this big planet, in the Sirius system, when you come in, all of your codes, keys, and frequencies, all of your wisdom and knowledge, it's like it gets immediately uploaded into the planet, the planetary system herself, right? Well, his self, it feels like a masculine planet to me. But there's also the ability to come and intentionally almost like download for yourself what it is that you're needing. But in my first BQH, Beyond Quantum Healing Hypnosis session that I received with my Lyran simultaneous life, she actually walked me through what that felt like. And we were actually pulling for another simultaneous expression that is aquatic, that was literally across the universe from where we were. And so we traveled there with that information, and it immediately downloaded into him. It was wild. It was such a beautiful, beautiful experience. And I'm told that Earth has that potential. And as we begin to really be more responsible with our mental and emotional fields and understand ourselves in unity, we'll have access to that. So this is something that I just love to point out every time, because I feel like it is so important for us with where we are in our consciousness. The love we feel from another being is a reflection of our soul, just as the disdain and fear that we feel when we connect with someone else is a reflection of our own consciousness and how we feel about ourselves and other people. And the more we understand that, the more we can really move through. Even beings who are playing in the control constructs and have shadow consciousness are source. It's all source. So our perspective lenses are really important to the type of experiences that we have with other beings. Now, I am not sitting here saying that we should allow other beings to usurp our divine sovereign free will and to run amok doing whatever it is that they do in their expressions within our lives if it is not, doesn't feel comfortable for us, is not resonant or whatever, right? In fact, if anyone's having an experience with any kind of being that you feel is sort of usurping or against your divine sovereign free will, there's a blog on my website. You can go to the mentoring section to find it. And the very first item on there is a contract, a way to nullify and release contracts. So any agreement, whether it be intentional or unintentional, can be nullified by that. I just recommend that you read it first to fully understand what you will be saying and to really stand in your power as you are speaking it. Speak it as a declaration of your heart and soul. And if you don't feel strong enough to do that, if you feel like you're being oppressed or, you've been giving a lot of energy to this being because it's been making you feel fearful, have someone that is close to you that can understand. Just have them hold your hand while you do it, and that will give you the power that you need to stand in your sovereignty as you speak it. So it's so important that we release judgment and embrace unity. There are so many different types of beings out there that are, these would be sort of like a cosmic being, I think, really like an impression of that, where you see so much energy. That first one on the left looks a lot like the Syrians that I see, but less emaciated. They don't have as much they don't have as much fluff on their faces as we see them in the cover images that they show. But yeah, this is just kind of an example of embracing our unity. This is what people feel comfortable with, right? If you saw a being like this, you would be like, okay, I can deal with this type of being. If you saw someone that looked like this, someone that looked a bit more, still humanoid, but a bit more energetic, right? Maybe they show you a face. Maybe they show you all of their energy body. Maybe they're plasma beings. Maybe they are electric beings. There's so many different kinds of beings. You could probably embrace them, right? There might be strange things that you would, have a moment with at first, like the one that looks like she has energetic tendrils coming out of her. But then if you saw beings that look like this, like an avian being that looks very ET, how would you feel? How do you feel when you see this being? Are you finding yourself being repelled? Or are you finding yourself thinking that they're interesting looking, right? This is where we get to practice our ability to look at beings that are strange to us, to our little Earth island that we've been living on, right? Where we haven't had as much contact with beings that have this, strange appearance. Some of us have. I know you guys. I can feel you going, I have. But how do you feel when you look at them? Is there something about this being that you can look at and you can go, oh, aren't you beautiful? Can you find that within them? Can you see the connection, even in just this image? What about if we go to someone that looks like this? Someone that has a very strange appearance, something very different than what we are accustomed to seeing on the daily. Well, some of us. I know there's a lot of people with Sheila that we see stuff like this. But how do you feel when you look at a being who looks like they are definitely a hybrid of a bunch of different things, right? How do you hold that within your consciousness? Does it shock you? Do you feel accepting? Do you feel like, oh, aren't you interesting? Thank you. Because we are so loud, you guys. As humans, we are very loud. We are loud telepathically, which is what I like to combine those two words. And they hear us, they feel us, they understand. So I like to let people know when you have that moment, it's okay. Most beings understand that we have been on this proverbial Earth island, right? And that we have the veils of forgetting, the illusions of forgetting that we are lifting. But wouldn't it be so good if you met someone like this that you could go, oh, aren't you interesting? How many questions do I have for you? What are you, instead of going into recoil, right? You could instead go, oh, wow, are you here to share something with me? What questions do I have that I can ask you? Are you willing to answer questions about your world and your experience? And how are you connecting with me? What is the purpose of that? Wouldn't it be so nice to have that experience? And then here are the beautiful beings, the reptilians, that they're getting such a bad rap right now because of there are groups of them that play in the control constructs with humanity. They definitely have shadow consciousness, but there are also sauroid beings all over the universe that do not play in those with anyone that experience themselves in the unity, in love, as love, that assist other races of people, other races of beings, and anyone who loves dragons. Definitely catch Neil's upcoming reptilian event that he's going to do, because there was some amazing information that came through about the dragons and the connection to reptilians. Hopefully he'll state that. But I will say, everybody has their angels, right? Everybody has, all the different races have their ethereals. And we are connected in that ethereal oneness, right? So open hearts, sense, use your discernment. I will say I have connections with reptilians who are so loving and so beautiful and are of service to the universe and lots of different races and species within it. And there's lots of hybrids happening all across the board. So that I've seen many reptilian hybrid races. I firmly believe that humans on Earth hold reptilian frequency within our DNA as well. And it's interesting to me that there's so much talk happening right now about how reptilians are so bad. And to me, it speaks of our own consciousness. It speaks of our own shadow work, so to speak. When we are placing a lot of emphasis on any other being in such a way that we are vilifying them, to me, it is an indication to go within. It's an indication to really look at the different things within our consciousness that view them as other than, as separate, as unwanted, undesirable. And we have the insectoids and other beings that are similar to them. They can be quite interesting looking. I not too long ago had an experience with ethereal wasp beings, and it was so beautiful. I was in one of my sacred bath time moments, and I was making some requests just to my soul team, right? And some inner work requests and some things that I wanted to step into within my journey, my consciousness expansion journey. And I don't remember how many minutes later, I started having energy work done on me. And I was like, wait a minute, this isn't necessarily coming from my soul team. So I did some investigation and I sort of went and looked, and I found myself in one of the places that we do energy work. I spend a lot of time in the holographic area to do the energy work that I do in the blueprints. And I was in a location similar to that. And I kept seeing these Nordic looking beings, these, really perfect giant humans with really pale hair, really pale skin, blue eyes. And I was also seeing, like, that would be a flash. And then I was seeing these upright wasp beings. They looked like giant hornets, and they felt like the highest, finest frequency. They were so beautiful. And then the cover image would come up again of that Nordic looking being. And I was like, and then I would, of course, look past it and it would go away. But each time I looked at a new one at the beginning, I would see the cover image. And I understand what cover images are. My team has explained it so many times to me in so many different ways. And so I was like, wait, why am I seeing these blonde people to them? Because I didn't expect it to come from wasp beings, right? They were ethereal, but the energy form they were showing me was like a yellow jacket that was standing up. And I was like, why am I seeing these? And they were like, you're seeing, and I'm like, what's happening? Because it kept kind of blipping, right? I would see them and then I would see the cover image. And they said, you were seeing through that technology. And I was like, well, why is it there? I'm like, we don't need this anymore. And they were like, some people still do. And I was like, well, yeah, but I don't. And as soon as I decided I didn't need it, it dissipated. And then I was communicating with them in a form that was what they would have considered their physical form if they had a physical form. And I just started asking them questions, and they were so beautiful and so lovely. And the reason they chose to assist me energetically was because I had been, over the summer, I had been assisting a hive of yellow jackets that are the most unity consciousness hive I have ever experienced. In Texas, yellow jackets can be quite aggressive. That was my experience with them all growing up. But when I moved here, they had never been messed with. So they didn't have the programming of danger. Humans are dangerous. So they're super harmonious and they'll just fly right by you, not bother you, like not see you as a threat, not see you as anything. And I noticed that they had started coming, they literally were coming to me to where I sit when I go outside. And their wing, they had problems with their wings. So I was healing them, each one that came to me. And I'm highly allergic to bees and hornets. So it has been an interesting experience, to say the least. But they would often, they could sort of, some of them could flutter, but they couldn't fly, right? And most of them couldn't fly at all. And so they would land on me and I would, blow them or lift them gently onto the ground, and do my thing, still being a bit cautious because, I like to live. But I recognized that this was happening to multiple hornets. So I was healing them. They were able to fly. It was good. But then I went to the hive and I looked at the blueprint of it, and they had gotten into something I was seeing, a couple of generations back, that they had gotten into a human chemical that had adjusted their blueprint. And so they had a deformity from that. So we cleared it. We cleared it completely from the hive, from each of the blueprints of all who were alive at the time and going to come in through their genetic lines. And genetic may not be the right word, but that's how I see it, right? So I had just done this beautiful thing just because they are in unity with us, right? Their life is just as important as ours. And that's how I viewed them. So because of that kindness, I received the kindness from ethereal lost beings. And I just thought it was amazing. I had only ever experienced, really, let me go back one just until we get to that. I had only ever really experienced insectoids through other people's soul team coming in to channel messages to them. And then my own personal experiences had only ever been with mantid beings, with mantis, who I find quite lovely and sometimes really funny, depending on the mantis. I also find the older ones like completely too much for my consciousness. And I will be like, no, send a younger one. And young is relative because I experience them as being billions and billions of years old, probably as old as the Andromedans in this universe, right? So just time immemorial almost, right? But hopefully you guys enjoyed those stories. I think this slide was from an earlier presentation, but really these are just the ways if you want to connect and communicate with your galactic family. These are, or any being, galactic, cosmic, ethereal beings. These are some things that are really important, right? The foundation, knowing your own energy fields, intend to know, see, hear, feel, and sense your own energy. This teaches you how to trust what you're feeling and receiving. Spend time in nature. Nature is a great equalizer, but also it helps us to really understand what is us, what is mine, and what is the hour that happens, right? Connect with the subtle realms. So crystals, plants, trees, animals, with respect and with permission. Everything is consciousness. Meditate. If you want to connect with your galactic, cosmic, ethereal family, your soul team collective, your high self, meditation is the way to do it. It is going within is always the answer. Embody love, be in the energy of play and the joy state as often as possible. That helps to raise our vibration. It also sort of lightens us up, so to speak, right? So it makes it easier for that connection bridge to happen with our galactic family. And raise your vibration with intention, which can be so simple as just breathing in light, a high vibratory light, holding that intention. And then, invite and observe, right? Acknowledge and invite your star families to connect and communicate with you. Ask your soul team to filter any connection, communication, and contact with any being or non-being. Ask your high self and your soul team to do that for you so that you can rest and trust that any being that comes into your world is there as a messenger or with a purpose, right? And there's no reason to fear. We have all the power. My team has been teaching me since I was very, very little. I think I said this earlier. There's nothing in existence that can go against our divine sovereign free will unless we allow it to. And that can come through fear, right? So take your power back, stand in your power, and know that you have the ability to say no or yes or maybe. And then just really choose to be aware and observe all the signs and synchronicities. Be present in your now moments. There's some signs up there that lots of people see. I'm sure most of the people in this one right now already have this stuff, but it'll be good for someone that might be new on their journey. And then trust that what you're receiving is what you're receiving. Trust the messages and the synchronicities. Use your discernment to discern the truth, what your yes and your no is, what your true and your false is. And then follow intuition and inner guidance. There's so much more about connecting with star beings. I'm just going to leave this up for a second. So if anyone wants to screen grab it, you can. But I think I've run out of time and I don't want to keep Sheila here too much longer. But you can always find this information in a lot of the things that I speak about. But all of this is really for us to remember who we are. Remember that we're this beautiful, infinite creator being, this soul essence that is soul streaming through all of our variations of expressions and lives. And that remembrance, when we start to truly anchor it into our world and anchor it into our human life, this embodiment of our codes, our keys, our frequencies, those specializations and masteries and geniuses that we bring with us into this life and this expression, and use it in such a unique way to not only uplift and support ourselves, but uplift and support our human collective, our global collective, our galactic collective, our universal collective, right? It's all pointing to remembering who we are and then embodying it fully and completely, as fully as we can. I'm just going to skip past this one and get into Ascension Catalyst. Excuse the spacing, evidently. I didn't resize that right. But I would love to invite all of you into Ascension Catalyst. It is our beautiful community. We are here on Earth to connect our star family, much like Sheila Seppi does here with Conscious Awakening Network and the Galactic Alliance. And we're in there live and in time, sharing our amazing multidimensional experiences, our contact experiences, all of the things that most people feel like, at least most people I talk to, feel like they don't have anyone to talk to. We're there. There's someone that will respond to you anytime, pretty much, unless we're all sleeping. But we're here just really anchoring our cosmic and galactic frequencies, using our specializations, determining what they are. And that happens in community so easy because, especially our community, we've spent years together leading into this community. And we have this ability to really sense those things within one another and assist each other to really radiate them and emanate them and utilize them in service. So if you're feeling like you are naturally, which we all are, a catalyst of awakening and expansion, and you would like a group of people who are focusing on ascension journeys in a very starseed, galactic, angelic, hybrid walk-in kind of way, we're a group that will love to welcome you into our community. We are very unity consciousness based. And if you would like to work with me, you can find me at Bridget Renee Holliday with 2Ls.com. I have just made my website a little fancier, so it'll be fun to look through. But yeah, I do a lot of quantum hypnosis, and I do a one-on-one session that is all about channeling your messages and ascension mentoring. So definitely connect with me. And I just want to say infinite love to each and every one of you. I'm going to try to end this. Let me see if I can. Yes, let me get back to Zoom and stop sharing screen. Oh, my video was off that whole time. Sheila, are you with me?
I am right here, my dear. Absolutely. Can you not
Just
see
said
me?
broadcast stopped, but I think I did it. Yeah, I cannot see you.
Oh,
I just
well,
see
so
me.
sorry about that. Yes, we are still live and right here. So that was an awesome, awesome, awesome presentation. I really enjoyed that. One of the things that I think I enjoyed the most was when when I see the reptilians. I love them. I love their
Me
skin
too.
tone. I love those little knobs that they have at the top. I had a session with a lady today, and one of her soul aspects was the reptilian. And she got so upset. And I'm like, no, 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 no. You have to understand. And so, we are so pre-programmed as a society that everything is based on looks. And not
Mhm.
that the individual people, but as society as a whole, we look at things and we automatically have these preconceived notions based on our programming and sometimes even the genetic lineage that we carry. All of that comes into play. And so it's so exciting to see people now. It used to be when people came to me, they wanted to do lots and lots of the past life regressions. Now it's the galactic, I
Yes.
want to know my star lineage. I want to know my name. And I find that to be, so exciting that people are really shifting their focus and understanding the multidimensionality that they are.
100%. Yeah. And I have a lot of people who they love their reptilian family. They can feel it. Maybe they've had experiences with them their whole lives, but they have a bit of shame around it because of the community and how the community is the narratives within the community. And I feel like it's so important to remember that we hold frequency from so many kinds of beings, right? And not all of them are going to look like us.
Right. Yeah.
I've seen some that look like, they're literally covered in tentacles and they look really bizarre. They're like a blob with tentacles, right? And I've seen all kinds of different things in my travels that I can't even get AI to generate something like it because I've been trying, right? Momo, yes, we love Ascension Catalyst. So yeah, I just feel like it's so important for all of us that are craving that remembrance of our galactic heritage and lineages to also remember that there are going to be beings within that are different than what we expect, whatever that looks like for you.
Absolutely.
It could be so many different kinds of beings, but I
Absolutely.
love that there are people finally stepping forward saying, no, I have reptilian friends and family, and we're not bad, right? We're here for all these different reasons, just like we are on Earth, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what I want to do is go ahead and open up for questions. If anyone has a question or a comment for Bridget, please go ahead and raise your hand. I know everybody's muted, but hit the little button at the bottom, your reactions button.
That's funny.
Okay, here we go.
I just want to say, can you hear me? Oh, there's hands up. I'm all the way turned down.
Yeah, hold on just a minute. Let's see. Okay, yes. Is it
Can't hear
Benita?
Turn it down.
I think someone is unmuted. I'm not sure who that is.
I think it's Susie and Vanita.
No, Susie's muted.
Oh, I don't know who that was.
Yeah, no, I unmuted Vanita. She has her hand up.
Benita.
Hello, Bridget.
Hi, sis.
Such an amazing presentation. And I especially love all the visuals because I'm a visual person. So that was just incredible. So I'm going to ask you something that might be slightly tangential or maybe not. So, we're talking about galactic and things, and it's so interesting, right? Like just in our human perception, when we think galactic, we're like out there in outer space, it's all out there, right? Now, I also feel very connected to inner Earth. Okay. So
hmm
now, as far as I know, there's a lot of very high dimensional beings, right? I mean, I guess we could call them galactic, but that's a whole other thing. So I wanted to find out your take. Are they all kind of all part of the same thing? Or something different? I would love to hear from you.
Yeah, my team, I asked my team so many times about who's on Earth. And thank you, Benita, for this question. I'm so happy you're here. So yeah, even in Telos, which is Mount Shasta, there are the native Telosians, which I consider to be a previous version of humanity that are on Earth. So before our version, right? They still play in perfection of form. There's lots of differences between us and them. The Telosians, the native Telosians, right? They very much are human. They're not necessarily our version. They're very close, but very different. But when you travel to Telos or connect with it telepathically, you'll experience a lot of different races and species of galactic beings there. There's also, what people call Agartha, but there's not all of them are small, but you can consider like dimensional pockets where they exist. It's not necessarily like you're going to walk down into a cave and find them there. You might if the door is open, so to speak, right? But the way I perceive it is they are within a different dimension than the one that we experience ourselves in. I'm sure I haven't seen everything within Inner Earth, like all the different communities. So I'm sure there might be some that are different than what I'm talking about now. But the ones I've experienced, there are even reptilian communities too. Some of them play within the shadow constructs and some of them don't. Within what we would call inner Earth, right? So there's all different types of beings, and they're also underwater. There are bases underwater, but they're not, like I said, they're not in the third dimension. And some of the ones that are in the fourth, because a lot of us can now see it, they've been elevated even higher. My team gave me an update on that actually not too long ago, which I think is very interesting because at one point I asked where all of the different beings were that were galactic or, not this version of humanity, where they were. And they showed me a bunch of different places all around the world. A lot of times they're inside of what we would call mountains, but also underground. But there were some that were sort of like underwater in the deepest parts of the water. I don't know. It was very interesting. But yeah, I feel like there's a lot of different beings and they all have different purposes and reasons for being here. And some of them, it's like I said, the Telosians, it's their natural. The Earth is just as much theirs as it is ours, right? And they're really connected in unity to our beautiful planet. And a lot of their messages will be about how we can connect, how we can understand ourselves in unity with Gaia, and how we can step into that with ourselves, the human collective on top of the planet, so to speak, as well, right?
Beautiful.
Did I miss something, Vanita? I think that was what you asked.
That was beautiful, Bridget. Thank you. And I just wanted to add, in whatever I have sort of understood, what I loved about like Telos or the Telosians is to some degree, they're the ones in terms of closest contact, because what I've heard is they do actually come out and take human form and wander around Mount Shasta so you can see them because they have that ability to shift dimensions and frequencies. So it's just really all really fun. And Great information. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. I love you. Yeah, the Telosians also have a connection to Lemuria. So if anyone's feeling that, that is for sure there as well. There's the dimensional expressions are interwoven, right? So we think of them like a birthday cake because it makes sense in our mind to think of them in that way. But really, it's like a tightly woven tapestry that just never ends in the weave. And so a lot of our galactic family and our interdimensional families will be able, yeah, right? You have a strong Lemurian connection. That's what Benita wrote in the chat. But they can create environments that hold all of the needs for many different races and species and dimensional expressions simultaneously. I know it has a name. I know Sheila knows the name. I always forget it. They'll do that with us, and it's like it'll sort of either be a sphere or a cube, and we can go in and connect and communicate face to face with people. But they also do that for I should say, because it's us in those dimensional expressions, right? But we do it with ships. We do it with those dimensional pockets where we create sort of outposts and different things in different worlds, also different planes of existence. So yeah, that's very common.
Are you referring to the Zendras?
What? Say it again.
The Zendra?
Yes.
Yeah.
Something like that, where you can really just control the environments,
Yes.
but they're layered. So I could be in there breathing oxygen, needing gravity, and someone else that breathes something totally different,
Right.
has a totally different dimensional expression, like a seventh dimensional being, could be communicating and connecting in the same space. And we do that all over the place. It's very common.
Thank you. Okay, Rod.
Rod. Is this Rod Lambert?
I think we're playing. I'm clicking unmute. He's clicking unmute.
How about this?
Yay, we got it.
Wow, the portal opened. The Zoom portal.
The portal has now opened.
Oh. Yeah, Bridget. So first of all, I'm so happy to be able to be here and to hear and see your presentation and to experience that, but also with the years, plural, of knowing you. And I want to say, it's these conversations that we've had that, over time have really helped me understand many different aspects of what you're discussing. Like for me, one of the most impactful things is when we talked about upper dimensional and how that feels. And then there was like an aha moment that you had said something, and then it was just like, oh, okay, now I get it. Now I understand. Like when you're talking about upper dimensional, and now I know that how it feels. And I felt that many times before, because so much of this experience is experiencing it, but then communicating with others so that we know, so that we have an understanding of what it is. And so for that, I really appreciate this community, and with Sheila and also with you, Bridget, like just the ability for us to have these conversations, to be able to see what aspects can shift in our life through these experiences. Now, so that's a compliment and a thank you. The question that I have is on portals or vortexes. That you mentioned about how they'll be opening more, and I wanted to get a sense of the feeling or the experience or the discovery as you see it for further communications, to be able to tap in.
Uh-oh.
Did we lose her?
I think we lost Bridget. I'm sure she'll pop back on.
Okay. Did it? Well, we'll see.
Yes,
I'll mute her.
I don't see her on here. Hold on just a moment. I just got a message. Oops, says she lost power for just a sec, so she'll be popping right back on.
Rod, open up the portal. What did you do? I'm just kidding.
Oh, geez. Right. The mute, the unmute, the power, all that stuff. Yeah.
I'm telling you. Oh, just a minute. She's still sending another message. While we're waiting, what I'd like to do is go ahead and bring Susie up, and she could go ahead and sing. Whoops, Susie's, nope, there she is. Susie? Okay. Hey, why don't you go ahead and sing your song for tonight while we are waiting?
Okie dokie. I'm practicing on you on this one, but this is a
Okay.
piano song. It's so appropriate for Bridget. So Pleiadians do it, Arcturians do it, even educated Greys do it. Let's all do it. Let's live in love. On Venus, the upper crest, do it. Cassiopeians with their pets, do it. Let's all do it. Let's live in love. Opunions without means, do it. Folks in Lyra eating greens, do it. Let's all do it. Let's live in love. Our guardians, they say, do it. Little green men, they do it. Let's all do it. Let's live in love. There's so many verses, two more. All team with their souls to it. Lemurians with love.
Wow. We're just losing everybody here tonight. Okay, Rod, what type of portal did you open?
I don't know. But hey, I should probably put it to rest because it's not helpful right now. Oh, here's Susie's back. Here we go.
Okay.
I got one verse left.
Okay. Let's hear it.
The walk-ins do it. The indigos do it. The starseeds with all the hybrids do it. So let's all do it. Let's all live in love. There's a whole lot of verses, but it's really fun. Love you guys so much.
Thank you
Another one
so
if you
much.
need it for time, because I know we're having some technical difficulties. I keep having them too.
Yeah. Well, sometimes that happens, when we are in the midst of a presentation and a lot of times in the middle or at the beginning or at any point in time, we'll begin to cut out, I've noticed, especially lately. So I'll just take this moment to do a little bitty commercial. Barbara Lamb and I have just finished a book, and it's in the editing stages. It's about walk-in starseeds and hybrids. So I'll be telling you guys more about that soon. And here's Bridget. Yay! All right. Welcome back, Bridget. Hello.
Hello. Okay, I can hear you now.
Great.
Sorry about that, Rod.
When did you cut out? Was it when I was asking about portals and then you had a portal experience with your power?
Evidently, a huge transformer behind the house blew up, and it gave us a blip in our electricity. Everybody in the house came running up to ask me if I saw the green glowing light. I was like, no, I have this huge light in front of me and I'm talking to people. But I don't know. Were you talking about portals? I don't think you had gotten that far, but that's amazing. What were you sharing?
I wasn't sharing, I was just asking. I was thanking you for what you've done in the community and for me and for myself personally. And then I had a question to ask about portals because you
Hmm.
mentioned about like the access of portals, so portals opening up um, more frequently, going forward. And I just wanted to ask you, in your perception, how do you see this playing out, or the difference between portals and vortexes? I mean, it's a pretty broad question, and I hope I'm not being too broad. Should I be more specific, or do you feel
No,
like
it's fine.
okay?
So what they showed me is we portals are everywhere. Gaia already has portals all the time. Some of them are even just tiny little ones you'll find in nature. And then a lot of times we have portals in it's strange. Humans like to build them into corners for some reason and closets. I don't know what that is. If they just the designers are like, yeah, we're gonna design it like this, and inevitably in every house there's a portal in a corner somewhere. Um, we have horizontal, we have vertical, we have portals that look sort of like a sphere or an oval, but we also have portals that look like just a mass, and it could be, any shape, any size. And they're, the Gaia portals are pointed to particular dimensional expressions. It can be, even portaled from one place on Gaia to another. And that used to happen a lot in the days of ancient times, I hear, when we were still holding some of the fifth dimensional frequency. But yeah, and a vortex and a portal, I mean, I don't know if I know the scientific difference of it. I think of vortex as like a generator of energy, or a container of energy of some kind. Maybe it's the same thing, maybe it's not. But I think of portals. I mean, we have en- enormous portals in our just even in galactic space that are used for particular things depending on the dimensional expression that you're coming through from. For instance, there are portals that our soul essence travels through to the center of the planet in a different dimensional space, right? To the halls of Amenti, where we come and then are sort of like put in the womb, right? Like the soul is connected with the body that is growing in the womb, that kind of a thing, right? So we also travel through them to various places. But there are planetary portals are interesting because there's this, galactic universal hub sort of environment that is usually created, not always. Some people on their planets like to keep to themselves, and so they use them for different things, and they don't necessarily allow other people to use them freely. um I have run into a couple of those accidentally. They're not usually mean, they're just like, don't come back, and I'm like, okay, won't. um but and you got to learn not to take that stuff personal. But with Earth becoming a portal planet, it's going to mean that we're really understanding ourselves in our galactic family, right? And that we are part of a neighborhood, so to speak, right? A really big neighborhood. Because the portals will face two different dimensions depending on whatever the portal is used for, whatever Gaia opens it for. Um, and we, as humans, as infinite creator beings, we can actually color the way portals are pointing, so to speak. So if we come at a portal with a bunch of fear and a bunch of, like anger or frustration or whatever, we can color the portal to be facing directions, so to speak, or angles within dimensions that are not necessarily something we want to play with. So we can place them facing the lower fourth dimension, which is not necessarily a natural Gaia portal. Is not going to be pointed in that direction, right? Or those directions, those angles, so to speak. So then beings could travel through the portal, and we could travel through to them that are not necessarily in the highest and best good for most of humanity, right? At this moment in time. You find things like that happening on Skinwalker Ranch, where people have messed with the portal and now it's sort of not in its natural state, right? But you can also fix that. That is not something that is it's going to have to be stuck like that forever. Someone that understands portals can go there and point it toward the dimensions. It's like it's like those old satellites on that people had on their houses where you could like direct them in different directions. It's similar to that, but a little more energetic technology based, right? So you can redirect them to their natural state. And then as long as no one messes with it, it'll be that way, right? So it'll be facing the higher dimensions and other beings within it, right? But yeah, that's what I see. And I believe that we've had this for a very long time on our planet, that they've just been opening and closing. I've witnessed this lots through just walking in nature, but also through using my first eye, my third eye, as people call it, and just looking around, right? So, and I really believe the indigenous cultures and beautiful people of the world have this knowledge and have had this knowledge since the beginning of their civilizations and cultures, right? So hopefully that
Beautiful.
answers your question.
That was phenomenal, Bridget. We could keep you here all night asking questions. I know we still have other people who have questions and comments. We'll have to get you to come back so
Yay.
we can hear all of those answers. But thank you so much for being here with us tonight, for your presence, for the presentation, and all the information that you brought to us. So one more time, can you tell people how they can find you?
Oh, yes. Find me at BridgetReneeHolliday.com, holiday with 2 L's. And you can also find me at Ascension Catalysts with an S at the end.com. And that's where I am. I look forward to connecting with you. And I love you so much, Sheila. Thank you for inviting me to do this. It's been a lot of fun. And thank you, everyone. So much love to all of you.
Yeah, it's been very, very fun. So thank you again for being here. Thanks to all the audience for being here. We love and appreciate you. And until we are back together again, have a beautiful and blessed week, and namaste. So much love, everyone, and have a blessed evening. Bye-bye.